Do cats actually recognize their names, or do they just ignore us because they want to? Today, we're going to uncover the truth. And trust me, the final study I'll share at the end of this video will completely change the way you see your cat. So make sure you stay until the very end. Dogs are famous for coming when you call them, but cats, well, they often act like they didn't hear you. But is that really the case? Let's break it down. In 2013, scientists at the University of Tokyo did something crazy. They recruited 25 cats and then played recordings of a few different things. Each cat heard the same things, so all of the cats were tested equally. What were those things? Well, they heard 3 different people. One was a stranger, one was the owner, and one was the cat's own name. Now, if you have a cat, you might think, oh, my cat will totally respond to its name. It's obvious. But the results surprised everyone. Most cats showed some type of movement when they heard their name. This means that yes, in general, cats do recognize their names. However, when they heard the stranger's voice saying their name, many cats didn't seem to care. When the owner said their name, though, some would meow, others would move their ears or head towards the sound, and a few would even come over to investigate. Now, it's important to note that these weren't all super close bonds between cats and owners. These cats came from various homes, so it's possible that some of them weren't as attached to their owners as others. But still, there was a difference. So what does this mean? Just because a cat recognizes its name doesn't mean it'll respond like you'd expect. But why? Cats are independent hunters by nature. They don't feel the same obligation to obey you as a dog might. Recognition doesn't automatically mean obedience. It's like if someone calls your name, you might hear it, but you don't have to do anything about it. But here's where things get interesting. A lot of times when we call our cats, they seem to ignore us. But are they really ignoring us? Not necessarily. Cats can be pretty smart. They've learned that sometimes we call them, but nothing interesting ever happens. Maybe you don't have a treat, maybe you're not going to play, maybe you're just about to give them medicine. To a cat, there could be many reasons why they shouldn't come. So instead of ignoring you, they may pretend to ignore you. You know how sometimes you ask your cat to do something like stop scratching the couch and they keep doing it? Then you turn away for a second and suddenly they jump off and start grooming themselves. They were pretending to ignore you, but really they heard you and decided it wasn't worth stopping. Now you might think, my cat would never do that. My cat listens to me. But trust me, almost every cat has done that at some point. Now, if you have a really well-trained cat that comes when you call, comment below and tell us how you did it. We're curious. Another reason cats might seem like they're ignoring you is that they're focusing on something else. You know how sometimes you're in the middle of doing something really interesting and you don't hear someone call your name until much later. Cats are the same. If they're focused on a bug or a bird outside, they're not ignoring you. They're just super focused on something else. And finally, some cats genuinely don't hear you. Hearing loss is common in older cats. If your cat is hard of hearing, they might not hear you and they won't come. We've covered a lot of ground, but now I'm going to share something that might just surprise you. Not all cats react the same way to their name. Some come running, others barely lift their head. So what's the deal? Well, cats can distinguish between words, tones, and even voices. That's how they learn to associate certain words like treat with good things. In fact, if you open a can of cat food, they probably know what that sound means before you do. But while they might recognize their name, that doesn't always mean they'll come. Sometimes they just don't feel like it. But here's where things get weird. Cats often know other words, sounds, and cues. For example, when it's dinner time, they know what to expect. When the sound of the can opener rings out, many cats will come running. But when you call their name, they may not. So if cats know their name and they know the sound of a can opener, why don't they come when you call them? Well, cats don't have to listen to you. They're independent thinkers, and they decide what to pay attention to. For example, if you're playing with a toy and your cat is too busy chasing it, they're not ignoring you. They're just too focused on the prey. However, there's an even bigger twist. Cats do respond to their name, but they may respond differently depending on who's calling them. That's right. Cats respond to familiar voices more than unfamiliar ones. But why should they care if a stranger calls their name? To a cat, their owner's voice is special. It means food, playtime, cuddles, or at least scratches behind the ears. The owner's voice is a source of good things, so it makes sense that cats pay more attention to their owner's voice. On the other hand, a strange voice calling their name probably doesn't mean much to a cat. It's just another sound in the background. So if you want to get your cat's attention, call them in a familiar voice. This brings us to an important question. Should you correct your cat when they don't come when you call them? The answer is no. Correcting them won't help. It'll only make them scared of you. Instead, when they do come, reward them with a treat, praise, or a little scratch. Positive reinforcement works much better than punishment when it comes to cats. If your cat doesn't come when you call, don't get mad. They probably just have something else in mind. Cats have their own thoughts, feelings, and plans. Just because you call them doesn't mean they have to stop what they're doing. But here's the thing. Cats do pay attention to their owner's voice. So if you want them to come, try using a happy, excited tone. If your cat doesn't respond, don't get upset. Just try again later. It's also important to make your cat's name mean something good. Do not use their name when it's time for a vet visit or when you're trying to get them to stop doing something you do not want them to do. Use their name when it's time for treats, playtime, or cuddles. That way, they'll associate their name with good things and be more likely to come when you call. Here's a final tip. Be patient. Cats take time to warm up to new things. Keep calling your cat by their name in a happy voice, and eventually they'll come. So do cats recognize their names? Yes, absolutely. But whether they respond, well, that's up to them. Now, if you want to test it with your cat, try the trick we talked about and let us know in the comments how it goes. And remember, stay tuned for more pet facts by liking, subscribing, and hitting the bell. Your cat may ignore you, but don't ignore this channel. We've got lots of fun stuff planned, so thanks for watching and see you next time.